Today's little exercise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to join two different coloured paracords together. Sometimes you want that because you are doing something decorative and you want a decorative pattern in two different colours, and so you need a way of joining your paracord. Now, the most obvious way of joining a paracord is simply to tie a knot in it, and I'm going to tie one of the simplest knots I know to secure two lines together, and that's the sheet bend. And basically, when I've tied the sheet bend, the problem is, yes, those two are so secure they're not going to come undone, etc. But the issue is we've got a bit of a porker here, and so we don't want any porky bits because it makes our work, our decorative work, look quite awful if there's a lump in it, and so therefore a knot is not practical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of methods that I use to join paracord. And what I do basically, first of all, is I get myself a wooden board. One is for cutting, and two is so that when I put my metal tray on it, I'm protecting the table underneath, and it saves me from a bit of a telling off when I've burnt the table. Next thing I've got here is you can do it with a Bic lighter, but what I've got here is I've got one of those turbo lighters, and to be honest, for the little bit of extra money that you pay for these, they are refillable, but the little bit of extra money that you pay for these, this is a fantastic piece of kit. It comes with a cover, so you can keep the end covered up. It does actually come with a stand as well, but I haven't got the stand here. In fact, I think I've lost the stand, but I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked for it. But the other features on this particular lighter is that here I've got like an on-off switch. So if that's in the back position, I can't light my lighter. It's when I put it in the front position that I can actually fully push the button in. The other feature that's on this as well that I really like is that this button here, if you see there, it's got a knurled thread. And basically, if I were to, I can light, it's a little bit fiddly. I light the lighter, no, that's not lit. And then I turn that knurled knob, and you can see now, I've let go at the top there. And if it's in its stand, the lighter will stay alight and work. It's a bit fiddly to get it to turn off. Hang on. There we go. And it's off now. So that's brilliant. So if you want a long-term flame when it's stood up like so that you can have both hands free to work in front of it, absolutely fantastic. Why on earth they didn't build this with a flat base beats me, but it does come with its own little thing. In fact, what I'll do is I'll see if I can find this particular light. I love this lighter, it's great. If I can find this particular lighter, I'll put a link in the description below so that you can actually get one yourself if you want one. One massive problem I have with this lighter, only because it's a painful problem as opposed to anything else, is that you don't see the flame. I'll light it now. It doesn't always light first time, but you can only just see the flame. I don't know if you can see that on camera. There's the flame, and there's no flame. And so sometimes I put my fingers in front of it because the gas whooshing out does sound a bit similar. Yeah, and I'm stupid as well. I'm a bit of a donut when it comes to these sort of things. But anyway, so sometimes I burn myself with that, and being a turbo lighter, boy, that flame isn't half hot. But also the other thing is, that is made of metal, and that doesn't half conduct some heat. And so sometimes I will sort of, for some strange reason, pick it up, grab the end, and then end up with ring marks on my finger where I've actually burnt them. Right, so that's the lighter as such. So what we're going to do first of all is the simplest method of joining two bits of paracord is, I've got two bits of paracord here now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them on this sheet there, like so, as close as possible. In fact, let's put that a little bit more in the middle. Oops, in fact, let's use the knife to steady that one, and then I can hold the other one. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put them as close together, in fact touching, and then with my lighter I'll come in at an angle so that you can see it. I will then melt the two ends. So like so, I'm melting the two ends, they're going together, and then gently with your fingers push them up squeeze them, push them, squeeze them, and you can round it off as you're doing it. And I've almost done that. There's a little bit of there loose, and then twirl it through my fingers, and there we go. We've now joined our paracord together. Now the big issue with this is it's not very strong. In fact, I'm going to do that a little bit more. That's it. There we go. That's a bit better. I've got a better seal there. You can feel a slight lump there, but the thing is that now those two are joined together, and I can then, when I'm doing my paracord work, I can then ensure that that join is tucked in somewhere in my decorative knotting as such. And so, yep, that's now secure. Let's see how secure. This is the issue though. When you're doing paracord like this, the issue is how secure is that? Perhaps for a quick release necklace, it's a good thing. But there again, then you've got to get your lighter out and melt it back together to make sure it works. But I'm going to put some tension on that, and actually that is quite strong. But I do feel, there we go, now it's breaking. There you go, and it's broken. So there, it did take quite a bit of pressure, but yeah, I mean the thing is, when it comes to this paracord, don't put two bits of paracord together like that and expect it to hold any great weight. It will hold some weight. Yes, it took quite a bit of pressure to undo it. So for decorative work, where it's not within the knots itself, it will just hold, I reckon. But it's not a perfect way of doing it. Okay, so that's the first way that I join two bits of paracord together. And don't forget, when they're joined together, a bit hard to show now, but then when you do some decorative work, that join can be tucked into the folds of your decorative work so that it's not visible. And so therefore you can't see it, and it's great. Absolutely superb way of joining it. And when it's actually in the fold of a decorative piece of work, it's more secure because there's no tension on that particular piece at the time. Okay, so that's method one. Right, the next method that I use to join two bits of paracord together is that basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare them both and then put a hole through each one so that I can pass the paracord through each hole. And to prepare, I've already prepared this one, so we'll put that one out the way. But to prepare it, what I basically do is I get the innards, so I get the center strands and I grab a hold of them as best I can, and I just gently tease them out. And these don't want to come. Here they come. And so what I do is I gently tease them out till I get them all out like so. And all I do is I just pull out a short section. When I've got a short section, I then cut them off like so, and then stroke quite hard the outer edge of the paracord. And you can actually feel now that when you run your fingers across there, all of a sudden at that point there is a dip where the inner cores have disappeared, and then gently stroke the ends like so. The next thing I do is, because what I don't want to have happen now is that the outer casing frays. So the next thing I'm going to do is get my lighter and just gently do the ends, but don't do anything with the ends. Just let the ends get hot, but don't squeeze them together or anything, because what we're aiming to do is keep, let's see, if I go there, I still have a hole at that point there. And in fact, when I put my needle through here, I could probably just do with a little bit more of heat on there. Ouch, that was my fingers again. Don't do it towards your fingers. I always do that, you know, and it hurts. And it tells me it hurts too. And so now when I've done that, that's a bit better. And so when I put that in there, I can now see that they're not going to fray. That's not fraying anymore. So once I've done that, what I do then is I poke a hole with my needle. Okay, this is a fairly blunt needle. I've seen it done before where they have really sharp needles. You don't do it that often. I don't see there's a point in it. But what I basically do is, the first thing I do is I get my knife and then just through one side. So what I do is I just take it through one side and I twist and cause a hole to appear in my casing of the paracord. Next thing I do is where I've put that hole, I then start to force my needle through. And you can see there, I've just created a little hole with my knife, and now I'm able to get my needle through, and then gently with my fingernails, like so, whoop, slipping off, just push down on the wood, push, it takes some effort, there you go, and now I'm through. And now that I've done that, I'll leave it like that. Okay, so now that we've done that, I can then get a hold of my paracord, and what I want to do next is I want to create, I don't want to create anything. I want to bring my paracord through. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this on the end of my paracord. In fact, that's not very nice shape. Let's just shake that off a bit. Cut it, heat it, roll it, ouch. And then what I'm going to do is thread my needle with it. So thread my needle, shouldn't take too much. And now what I do is I then take it so that my paracord comes through just gently, because what we don't want to do, that's it, it's coming through, and there we go. So what we've done now is we have made it so that our paracord is just like so. So it's gone through the middle there and come out through the hole that we created on the side of our paracord. And then what I'll do now is just prepare the other piece and then get back to you on that. So just pause with me a second and I'll get back to you. Right, so what I've done is I have now taken the needle off. I didn't really prepare anything actually, I was just thinking about it. Taken the needle off, and the next thing I need to do is we've got to now make a hole in the blue one. So we need to make a hole in the bottom edge of the blue one so that we can then feed the pink one through and come out through the end of the blue one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed my blue through a little bit, because what I want to do is cut off the end and get some of the innards out of it. And so we're going to pull the innards like so. So there we go, we've got a little length of innards there, and I'm going to cut them off flush like so, then stroke this up again, and now we've got a hollow bit at the end there. So the next thing I want to do now is I want to seal the ends, because what I don't want to do is have them fraying. So seal the ends here. There you go, a bit more. That's sealed. Don't squeeze it together because we still need that hole to come out of. So I've created, there's still a hole there, and the ends are sealed so the paracord isn't going to fray out of there. And then once again, what I'm going to do, it's not very easy to see on camera, but I'm going to make it so that I'll try and do it for the camera, but I don't know if I can do this. But you know what I'm doing? I'm actually going to put a hole in that piece there. And so I've now put a hole there, I hope, so that what I can do now is I can then thread my paracord. In fact, let's go through this way with the needle, with my needle. I don't think I did it deep enough with the knife. Doesn't matter. I'm sure if you got the knife and cut a nick out of it, it would do just the job. There it is. Okay, so you can see now here, my needle is starting to poke through. So I have got a hole there. But what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to come, now I've done a hole from that side, it's just a little bit easier from that side. I'm going to reverse it and put my needle through there and bring it out. So there we go. Push down hard. It's not easy. Okay. If you've got scissors, maybe you can trim it better. It's just tricky. There we go. And my needle is now on there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thread the pink paracord onto my needle. And let's see if that'll go. No, I've got to heat that up. So let's just trim that end off a bit. Like so. heat the ends, twiddle it with my fingers, and now we can put this through onto our paracord. So there we go. Okay, right. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this, gosh that's tight, along the length of my paracord. It'll loosen up as soon as it hits the paracord section. And now I've got the paracord through. Fortunately that fell off at the same time. And now you can see that all I'm doing is I'm pulling all the paracord through there, and gradually as I pull it through, those two are going to come up and lock together. And so there we have it. That is it. And that is tight. Now if we want to, we can still go ahead and melt that a bit more to actually lock them in place. But actually when I pull on that, that is certainly not going anywhere. But once again, if you're going to exert weight on it and that weight's got to rely on something, don't do it. It'll break. I promise you, it'll break. And now we have the opportunity here to create a decorative 2-colour lanyard using this method. And so here we have it. We now have 2 colours joined together, and it's a brilliant system. So once again, thanks very much for watching. If you liked it, share it, and don't forget, check out the description below because there'll be more information for you with regards to different techniques, tactics, things like that. So there we have it, how to join paracord. 2 different methods there. There's probably more methods other than knotting, but that's the 2 methods I use to actually join paracord. So once again, thanks for watching.